Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Cloud Live. I am Greg Bagues, and we are filming live from Google I/O. I'm joined here by Tilde.
Hello, I'm Tilde Thurium. I help developers build with Google Cloud. So happy to be here.
Amazing. And we are joined by Caleb Eom.
Hey guys, I'm Caleb. I'm a content creator on YouTube trying to cover the entire AI stack.
I am so excited to talk to you.
I'm happy to be here.
So you've got a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Caleb Writes Code. We're chatting. You started this in April, and you went full-time in July.
Yeah.
3 months later.
Yeah.
And I am so excited to talk about that journey there. So let's start here. Why did you decide to start a YouTube channel?
Yeah, so I started back when I was a developer. I have a developer background for about 10 years. And then I realized that when Sonnet 3.5 came out, I felt that in my job that something was going to change. So I realized that I really need to understand what the transformation is coming. And I was very intimidated at first because it's AI just feels like such a big topic. And so what I started doing was I started to delve into, try to understand what coding agents really are. So in order to actually centralize my knowledge, I started to create a video so that I can put my work together and then share with other people who might also go through the same thing. Because at the same time, I'm sure all the other developers were kind of going through the same thing of man, this is a lot of change coming in. So I shared that video, and it turns out so many other people were curious about the same topic that I was curious about. So ever since then, I've been really trying to chase my curiosity and trying to fill in the videos by helping other people get informed, get educated on what I think is relevant in the industry.
Yeah, that's amazing. Have you made a particular video that you're the most proud of?
Honestly, I think the one that I'm the most proud of is the one that I've done recently, which is on the inference engines. And that is somewhat less popular, I would say, because I think a lot of people live on the agentic side. But when you go a little bit lower down the hierarchy, you start to get into inference, which means you are actually running the deployed model. And I think the reason why a lot of people are curious about it is because based on how the inference works, it determines how fast the tokens are generated, and it determines how well the reasoning are going to be. So I think that video, I tried to really dumb it down into the first principle of what is an inference, what are all the phases, and why is it such an important topic, and why is it such a difficult topic? So I try to make the topic less intimidating so that I can help people understand what inference really is. So I was super excited about that one.
Yeah, I really appreciate you breaking that down, even for our audience now, defining what inference is, because as developers, it just feels impossible to keep up, and there's so much terminology, and I can see you care quite deeply about making things as accessible as possible.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that too, I think there's been a growing interest in people wanting to run their own models at home. And so there's been people buying up Apple hardware, people buying up graphics cards, because people want to run their own models at home. And in order to do that, you really have to understand how inference works, because you're bottlenecked by the hardware to actually run these models at home. So to understand inference well helps you understand, what model can I run at home, and what kind of performance could I get to pair my coding agents with a locally run large language model. So I was surprised by how much interest on a topic that I thought was pretty nerdy, but that there's so many other people that are also down to get nerdy with me. So yeah.
I feel like the best YouTubers follow their interests and create videos that are interesting to them, as opposed to trying to copy what they see other folks. Would you feel like that's what you've done here?
Yeah, and that's a very intimidating thing. It was and it still is to some extent now, because you kind of have to trust your own instinct that what you are curious about is going to be what other people are curious about too. So you really have to trust yourself that what you want to really dig into to understand it is what other people also find it interesting. So I definitely agree with that.
My daughter, who I think is watching, hi Emma, if you're there, she's in 6th grade. I got to go to her career day a few months ago. If you ask kids these days, what do you want to be when you grow up? YouTuber seems to be the most popular. You are living the dream right now. You have the hottest job in America. What has that transition been like for you, going from software developer to full-time YouTuber?
It's funny because I worked 40 hours a week as a developer, and now I'm like working a lot more than I did. But I love what I do.
Yes.
So it's almost like I'm working a lot more, but I really started to enjoy more of what work actually means. So I think one thing that I found so liberating is the fact that I can follow the industry and pick something that I think is something I'm super passionate about and try to really share that journey with other people. So it almost feels like I'm building my career instead of like trying to join a company, which is fine too, but I think...
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, which is like, it gives me a lot more ownership to what I want to build. And so, but with that, it comes with a lot of responsibility and trying to make sure that, you know, you're getting paid well and you have sponsorships, you have ad revenues coming in. And I'm really thankful for YouTube because it gives me the platform to bring people together, and it also has the ecosystem that allows sponsorship and allows AdSense to actually make this whole thing work for my own living.
What has surprised you the most about becoming a content creator?
Yeah, I think what I found surprising was the fact that it wasn't just about chasing the numbers and the analytics. I was talking with a lot of other content creators here at Google I/O, and I found that people find so many different ways to actually get to success. So it doesn't have to be a huge following. It can be a very niche thing, but that is such a valuable thing that you put out there that it's important enough that people get invited to come to Google I/O and people get, like, people contribute value to people that want to learn about something very specific. So I learned that initially what I thought was like, oh, you gotta chase the numbers, you gotta chase the views, you gotta chase subscribers, but it was more about just being more authentic to what you think a niche is and really trying to like hammer in and doubling down on like, okay, I think I know who my audience is and I think I'm with them, and so how can I actually try and be ahead of them so that I can help that community grow. So
you said something at dinner last night. You wanted to get paid to learn. You feel like, could you talk more about that?
Yeah, so I am inner nerd, outer nerd as well, but I really enjoy learning. So I think that's why YouTube is like such a good like Goldilocks zone for me, because it's like, if I could just sit down and research about a topic for 8 hours without having to worry about getting paid, paying my bills or whatever, that is like where I want to be. So the fact that I get to not worry about the day-to-day things, but really dig deeper into topics that I'm curious about, that's what I'm super passionate about. So I feel very lucky that I get to do that, and I have the opportunity to do that.
What does a typical day in your life look like?
Yeah, so it's all over the place. It's, I would say, pretty unorganized. Some days I stay up until 5 a.m. editing videos and publishing it, and when that day happens, I take the next day off. So it's a lot of like, it depends on the flow of the market. So I really have to be like engaged in what's happening in the industry, and if it's a busy time, that requires me to really double down on my hours to get the video out in time. But there are also slow days too, so it's not like a steady 9 to 5 all the time, but it's kind of all over the place, but yeah.
You mentioned video editing. How did you start learning video editing?
I had a few channels before. Okay. They didn't do well in the past, but I think...
Really? So this is not your first YouTube channel?
No, yeah. I took them down because I felt half embarrassed by the work that I've done in the past, but what I will say about that though is that there's really no... It wasn't a waste of time, because I think you look at your past and say, well, the channels didn't do well, so you just gotta close it down and be embarrassed by it. But the skill set that I learned in those channels 100% carried over to my current channel. So I had less time leading up to editing videos because I had all that experience built into learning about editing videos. So I edited videos since I was a kid, but I didn't do it professionally. But I didn't realize just how much things compound into the things that you learned in the past and how much it actually helps you in the future. So it definitely wasn't a waste of time. Yeah.
What advice might you give to any developers in our audience who want to dip their toes into content creation? Yeah,
I think, honestly, going back to what I said about just being confident in yourself and what you find passionate about, and I think once you start doing that, and really trying to double down on that specific niche and sharing that process with other people. It gives people the opportunity to see what you're working on and see who you are. And a lot of it, I think, is personality, which is like, who is this person? What is he interested in? What is he building? And so I think going back to what I said about the number thing, like, it can be so tempting to be like, well, I got to get to 10,000 subscribers, so how do I get there? And I think that's a wrong way to think about it, which is how do I focus on the things that I'm passionate about and share my journey, and hopefully I can get to a specific number to have that as a goal and get there. So.
I think one challenging thing about being a YouTuber is you have to do everything, right? And some folks will outsource editing. You still do your own editing, yes?
Yes. Yeah, I do all my editing myself.
But you did say last night that you got a manager.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk a little bit about the role of the manager and how that's helped you in your profession?
Yeah, so I signed with a manager about a year into my career as a content creator, and that was a big learning moment of, I don't have to be chasing all the deals and sending correspondence and negotiating rates and everything. That took up a lot of administration tasks that took away from actually researching and putting out good content. And so shout out to my manager, Yama, and Amy. They've been such a good addition to my team, because it's not like they're doing their thing and I'm doing my thing. We get to work together to push out my channel together. So we're almost like collaborating together to try and grow the channel in a very organic way. And it allows me to not really worry on the administrative side of creating a channel, but actually just focus on what makes my channel unique and what other people think that my channel is valuable.
What technology have you been deep diving into lately?
Yeah, so there's one thing I'm super passionate about. I really like looking at the whole picture when it comes to AI. There's the application layer, there's a model layer, infrastructure layer, chip layer, and energy layer. That's the 5-layer cake that I think Jensen Huang has used pretty often, and I really like that analogy. And I think recently I've been really digging into the last layer, which is the energy layer. So that's the area that's like least talked about, but I'm so passionate about, because I think you start to realize that on the agentic side, what happens on the agentic side is actually influenced by all the layers underneath, because the architecture, the application is determined by what the model can provide, but the model architecture is restricted by what the infrastructure on the data center level can give. And the infrastructure is also limited by the chip and what chip are you actually putting into those data centers. And then finally we get into the energy layer. Can we actually power those data centers? Can we actually find ways to build those data centers? So I've been really passionate about the whole energy layer lately, and it's been such a fun journey. Yeah.
That is so interesting, because I know nothing about that. What do you, fast forward 5 years, like how do you think the energy layer is going to look different?
I think I don't have a crystal ball to look into it, but I think a lot of people are curious about it because they are worried that energy is going to be something that is going to cause AI to stagnate. But I think people have found ways to work around it, and I'm really thankful that like frontier labs like Meta, like OpenAI, like Anthropic, SpaceX, Google, they're finding ways to work around the geopolitics to actually get their data centers built up. And so I hope that in 5-year time, it'll get easier here in the US to actually build data centers in a clean way, in a way that's scalable. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what the 5-year plan would look like. Yeah.
Things are changing so fast, it's really hard to make predictions, so I appreciate you giving it a shot.
Of course.
And I think it's so, as we wrap up here, like the content you're making is so valuable for developers, because you can just go to the chatbot and type in your thing and get a query bit or response. But the more you understand what's happening underneath, I think the better you can use these tools. And to your point, I think that goes all the way down the stack. And the more you understand the constraints of the stack, the more informed tool user you can be, and the better power or the better results you can get out of these tools. So
Yes.
I love your channel, and I love the
Thank
content
you.
you're doing. I think it's like really inspiring watching you pursue your own personal interests and say, I'm going to do this because I'm into it, and then the algorithm helps identify other people who are into that as well, right? And help you find the audience. So it's really, really cool. It's an awesome talk.
I feel very lucky to be here. I'm happy to be here. I'm from Detroit, and this weather's been beautiful.
Amazing.
So thank you so much for having me.
We got some solar energy in here today.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Well, where can people find you on YouTube?
Yeah, my channel is called Caleb Writes Code. It's on YouTube.
Amazing.
And, you can follow me there.
All right, follow him there, and like and subscribe all of his videos. Learn more. Thank you so much for joining us here
Thank
today.
you, Greg.
Thank you.